Let's Go to Japan is a love letter from the designer to Japan. It's brought to us from AEG, and we have thoughts. So join us after the intro and the how to play to hear our 2 cents. Alright, I'm only going to show you my board, but we are set up for Let's Go to Japan. Here's your mood tracker. Now, you're going to follow this round tracker here. So at the beginning of the game, the first thing you do is you draw a Tokyo and a Kyoto card. You're going to play one, and you're going to pass the other one over to your opponent. Based on, I believe it's first this way, and then that way, or vice versa. You can see the arrow. We've only ever played it 2 players, so the direction doesn't matter for us. You're going to look at the cards, and the cards have a couple of pieces of information. They have symbols up top, they have point values there, they have flavor text in the middle, and then if it's the highlight of the day, that is depicted down here. Now when you're placing these out, you want to try and think of a couple of different things. Obviously you want to try and match the symbol to the day. That's going to give you benefits. And you're also going to debate if you want to do that highlight of the day. In order to satisfy a highlight of the day is by the time it comes up, you need to satisfy the conditions down here in order to score what's over here. For instance, this bottom one, you need to have 3 of the speaking symbols by the time you do this card in order to get 8 points. So if it's in your first row, that might be kind of hard. Because it might be hard to get to 3 speaking, especially seeing as there's none on that one. This wants 3 of these flowers, so again, at the beginning, might be kind of hard. So say I go with the Tokyo one right there, this would go over to my opponent's board. And they will do the same, and then they would say, pass me back a card. So we'll just put one there. This moves, and you continue taking one and passing one, going back and forth. Let's just draw 3 cards here and give an example. So say you have finished up a day. You are then going to look at the symbol up here, count how many symbols you have. In this instance, I have 2. You're going to look up here. If you have 1 symbol, you're going to move your mood tracker 1. If you have 2 symbols, you can take 2 itinerary or a wild token. If you have 3 or more, you can take a luxury train, or you can go for a walk, but not take that token. You can always take less than how many you have. So if I had 3, I can choose any of these. If I have 2, I can choose those 2. Now, for taking a walk, the other option you have when you have 2 cards to play is if you don't want to do either of them, you can say you're going to take a walk. In that instance, you discard a card, you choose where you want to take a walk, you grab it, and you put it on the day. One thing I did not mention is when you're putting cards on where you already have previous cards. So if I already have this on my Wednesday, the next card I can either put on top or I can put underneath. When I place a 3rd card there, it can go on top, in back, or in the middle. But going back to me taking a walk, I will cover that when I go over end of game scoring. Now, when you get to this icon, at this point you're going to have 4 cards face down here. You are going to pick those 4 up, you're going to play 2 cards, and pass 2. Then you'll be drawing 2 from each deck, playing 2, passing 2, doing all of that, all the way until this gets off the board. In the last round, you're going to be picking up 1 face down, and then you choose what deck you want to draw the card from. Now let me get set up how it's going to look like at the end of the game, and I'll walk you through end of game scoring. Alright, I just laid this out, so this isn't going to score overwhelmingly well. I will say that to start, but it's going to give us an idea of how to play it. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to be looking down your rows of cards. Whenever you go from one city to the other, you need a train token. Hopefully throughout the game you've grabbed some luxury train tokens. If so, you can just put them to show that you're traveling like that. As you're going through, you can use your start one. So I'm changing cities again. Right there. I'm going to new city. If you don't have a luxury token, you have to take one from the supply. It's going to be -2 points. Going through, and it looks like, hey, I got another luxury one. Let's go ahead and put that one there. Now you're going to analyze day by day, and you can read out what you've all done. So in this instance, I took a drumming class, went to Kyoto Tower, and I visited Todoroki Valley Park. As you go down, you're going to move these. So I have a speech bubble. I spent a lot of money. I did some shopping. I now took the train, and that moves me back one this way. In Todoroki Valley Park, we move over the flower, and we go one more that way. Now for this one to score, I need to have one of these symbols and one on the shrine, and I'd get 5 points on move on those tracks. I do not have either, or I have that on my train. I did not move on my shrine. What I can do is I've gained a wild token. I can spend the wild token to move the shrine. I now satisfy that. So by satisfying, I'd get 5 points. My shrine and my speaking would move again. Then you move on to the next day and do the same thing, moving over the speaking, shopping. Shopping moves twice. This moves over once, which gives you negative points, comes back and moves again. Here we move over one this way. Wait, no, that's our start train, so we don't. This moves us one more there, the sushi, and the speaking. Choose a luxury ryokan if I have 3 of those symbols before it. I only have 2, so I didn't score that one. So when you come to a growing for walk card, in this instance on Wednesday we went for a walk. When you get to this card, you are going to flip it over and choose if you wish to do it. If you wish to do it, you'll do the icons on the top and you'll score those points. If you don't want to do it, you'll leave it face down and you'll move over one on the track. If you do choose to do it and have it flipped over, you're going to take one of these walk icons and put it right there. You do this for all of your days, moving your tokens down. You're going to score points for the numbers up in the corner for however your highlighted day scores. You're going to get points for however many tokens pass these spots. So in this instance, this would score you none. These 3 would score you 4 and 8 for 20 points up there. As you move across here, you're going to get points, either positive or negative. And highest point total wins. Alright, so we are back to give our 2 cents but times 2 for Let's Go to Japan. So as has become the norm, we are going to cover over the CENTS. So first off, we have components. So I will say we have the deluxe version, so we have upgraded bits and bobs aplenty. So for us, it is a fantastic production. There are bags to hold the cards, there are bags to hold the tokens, there's bags for each player color to hold all the player pieces. Everything's thick wood, feels great. Even the other tokens like the train tickets and all that are super thick and coated in paint and look really well. What did you think?
I really liked the bags. I thought they were very nice. I thought they were very pretty too. Obviously, like you said here, the wood components were great. I really liked those. And the cards were nice.
Yeah, beautiful art. They're big, the tarot size basically. So.
Yeah, and they weren't chintzy feeling. It actually felt like there was some substance to it. And then we actually had picked up the ramen bowls, wasn't it?
Yeah, the ceramic bowl set that you can put your tokens in, and those were all really nice too, and felt really hefty, and was a nice touch to the game.
And I really liked how it came.
Yeah, it came. We got it where it was all wrapped up in. I don't remember the actual term, but basically the fabric, they had it wrapped a certain way, as is traditional with Japanese culture. In fact, there's a card in here that talks about that specifically.
Explains it.
Like a card that you play in the game, not like a little gift card thing. So that was components. So experience at 2 players. What you got?
So, I like the fact that a lot of these 2-player games have special rules, or
especially in drafting games.
Yes.
Which is this.
Yeah, where you have to do this and then you discard, or you have an extra hand or something like that. This didn't have any of that, and I really like that. made it so much simpler, and you were able to just back and forth and back and forth. So I really liked it. It was a good experience. It kept the game moving.
Yeah, because really the only difference at 2 players is you don't pass the other way because there's only 2 of you. Like once you start going 3, 4, and 5, a little bit past halfway of the game, you start passing cards the other way is really the only difference. I will say though, because with the 2 players, they don't add that dummy hand, you don't go through as many cards as you would in a bigger game to have that variety. So in essence, those research tokens that you get that allow you to draw 3 extra cards and discard 3 could become more worthwhile if that's your play style. That way you can get the variety and maybe hunt for that card you want that you're not getting when you're going through lesser cards.
Yeah.
So that is the experience of 2 players. So negatives. I will tell you I got nitpicky with these negatives because I do not see many in here. My big negatives are that some might find it get repetitive after quite a few plays, but after those few plays you probably definitely got your money's worth. I mean, because the tokens do shift at the top for what days you want stuff. And then maybe you might get the Tokyo cards the one time, but the Kyoto the other. So trying to arrange the day. So there is decision space there, but I could see people find it repetitive after like 15, 20 plays. But if you're getting 15, 20 plays out of a game, then you're at least getting your money's worth, if not more. And the other thing is the highlight of the day seems very important to score. Yes. I think I always lose this game, and it's because there's always one day that I just end up not scoring. So it's very important where you have to really focus on that. So your decision to do that might go away from immersing yourself in the theme. So I could see someone being nitpicky with an issue with that. But that's all my negatives. What you got? Anything?
Well, that kind of what you were saying with the trip of the day is, unless that's something that you play all the time, I always have a tendency, because most times when you play, you put cards on top of each other. Well, this one you can go behind, you can go in the middle, and a lot of times you're playing and you're trying to figure out where everything goes, and you just forget that you can do that.
It's such a unique mechanism of being able to basically arrange your order free-willingly almost, that it's not something that normally crosses your mind.
Right. So there's been many times, like you said, where that...
I think I just end up throwing it on top, and then that's what ends up getting me where I don't score the highlight because I didn't think to put it behind because it just isn't how my brain was wired for that. So.
Right. And then the other thing is, and this is just, at least for me, I like to read everything, no matter what. And so they have a lot of the cards all have flavor texts on them to pretty much explain what the places are, the cities, what you're doing, things like that. And I will admit I am getting a little bit older now. So the text was kind of small and hard to read. So, but that doesn't affect the game at all, obviously, because...
It's a flavor text. But...
Yeah, you don't really need it. But it's one of those things that, if you're used to reading and, it's there, you want to read it, and it's very hard to see it, and I think my last negative was basically, and this is another thing with me, is that my analysis paralysis could kick in a little bit, because you're trying to figure out, read that, but I want all of the pink on this, or the Tokyo on this side, and all of the Kyoto on this side, and I don't want to mix it, and so you're trying to, so it could kind of kick in that.
Not that, but like I said, with highlight of the day being so important, trying to put it there, but it might not work well with the tokens on top, but you need those tokens on top to get that luxury trail as you're getting negative points. So as it goes on, those decisions could become more vital, so you are possibly, but I will say for most games that we play, this one didn't slow her down as much as other ones do, because you have a limited selection. Like, for the majority of the game, you have 2 cards in your hand, and you have to choose only one of those. So it's not like you have this whole huge hand of cards trying to pick one of 7. It's literally pick 2 cards, and that really, I think, kind of helps narrow that decision
spaced down some.
So yeah, like I said, negative. Agree with you. Not very many of them.
Yeah, it's basically getting nitpicky on this one. So
Yeah.
All right. So theme.
Theme. I am very, very, very big on theme. I don't know how many times we've gotten games that, well, they're not the best games, but the theme looked really cool. And this one is one of those that looked really cool. And especially considering the whole concept and the whole idea and the whole why and how it came to be, to me that was really cool. And I like the cards that kind of reflected that.
Yeah, because it's with that whole flavor text, like she was saying, so you can immerse yourself in the theme in reading about the places you are and all of that. It's just well implemented with, this is what you can do here, this is what you can do here. And then there's I think they call them the yellow cards, although like a yellowish orange. That can be either city because it's like basically take a class. Well, they probably give this class in either one. The icons on the top match what it is. Like you're doing a sushi class, so of course you have the sushi on top. Or you're going to visit the shrines, so the shrines are on top. So the symbols really do match up well with what you're doing to really kind of implement you and immerse you in that. So we end up with smoothness. How smooth the display? And I would say really smooth. Like I said, there's, how many turns? 21? No, because you're putting 2 down. Basically, like 2/3 of the game, you have 2 cards to choose from. So it's going to be quick because you just grab one of each one, put one down, and then pass the other. So the turns are quick. There's no funky rule like, all right, now cycle through this deck and discard these 4 cards. Nope, it's just literally grab 2, grab 2, grab 2, grab 4, grab 4, grab 4. You're picking up the discard one on the ones. The little turn tracker they have explains everything good, so as long as you're following that, it goes along well. And like I said, just fast-paced turns.
Yeah, really easy to play, and the rules were really easy to understand. There really were, like you said, really wasn't a whole lot of to do this, and you got to do this, and then first you got to make sure that this is all here, and then, nope, it was pick, draw.
And I think, there was a couple of scoring questions we had to look in the rule book, but then we eventually noticed they even have it on the bottom of the card. Yeah. Like one of them was like, for every space you visited in Tokyo before this one is how you got points. So like the icon looked weird on there, we hit the rule book, easy to find, but then later on we're looking like, oh, it says it right on the card. Yeah. So even that, where you don't necessarily need to go to the rule books, I think that was the only one that we covered.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think I will touch on is it did come with 2 expansions in the box for us, a Passport mini expansion and a Day Trip expansion. The Passport expansion basically gives you either an alternative scoring goal that you're going to be able to do or some added start, like you might get 4 wild tokens to start the game, or maybe a combination of both, like...
Or an ability.
Yeah, an ability, or like the the green yen symbol would move you 2, and you're going to get 1 point for it at the end of the game. So it might even do something like that. That is one that we will always play with just because it does give you that little extra thing. The Day Trip adds Sunday to your trip, and then gives you a Day Trip card that you assign to one of your days at the beginning of the game. And that will either give you more symbols or give you a different scoring option based on what the card says. And then you're also able to either move Sunday to the end of the week or leave it at the beginning of the week. And that one we thought was okay. I think we got to play with it again because that adds a whole extra level of thinking, because the one might be like the previous 2 days, any of this symbol you have. Well, now you're kind of focusing on that extra thing. So that kind of added the extra layer of complexity that we're not going to play with every time, but we'll put in every now and then. But that Passport is definitely worthwhile. Oh, yeah.
Definitely like the Passport.
So I think we will wrap this all up with your final thoughts.
I really enjoyed the game. This is one that when did we get this? A few weeks ago?
A month and a half-ish.
A month. And we've played it numerous times. We've even brought in our child.
The youth played it 3-player, and then they asked to play it just me and them the next day. So they got a kick out of it too, just trying to lay out everything. So
yeah, it's a fun game. I really enjoy playing it.
So my final thoughts is, if you listen to my podcast, you'll know as of right now, this is our number one game of 2024. Because as she said, we've played it a ton. Just the sign space, just with how quick it plays. It can play quick. Let me put it that way. The actual gameplay is, but in the rule book they suggest, hey, why don't you share your vacation? So if you have each person score each day individually, that kind of slows it down.
Yeah.
So if we have the time, we'll do that. Otherwise, you don't have to. Each person can just soar each day simultaneously, and then you just fly through it. So, but overall, I think we agree. How many rings?
4.5.
So 4.5 out of 5 rings, which you'll see right here. 4.5 out of 5. So definitely a hit for us, and one that we can see ourselves playing many a time.
Yes.
So, hope you enjoyed that. Let us know your thoughts if you have played it. Also, if you could go ahead and like, subscribe, comment, and ring the bell for the channel. And check out that podcast I mentioned earlier, wherever podcasts are found. You have anything you want to say on the outro?
I don't think so.
All right.
That's it. Thanks for watching.
See you next time.